Good morning, Internet friendos, and welcome to another episode of Life According to Joel. Today's episode is entitled Platonic Friendship and Protecting Yourself from Just Friends. So yesterday I was going to do an episode of a very challenging experience I had in my life, where I had a bunch of friends I had made at Vancouver Film School, and then my grandparents passed and my dad got cancer all within the course of a year, and my friends just went poof and they disappeared. And the video was fairly negative and focused on a couple individuals who are of the opposite sex, but also a couple of my friends who are of the same sex who just completely disappeared on me. And it was a very negative experience, and it's taken me several years to sort of recover from that, because as an autistic individual, I have a really hard time with body language and vocal tones, and I have a really hard time making long-lasting relationships and friendships work. And so every time I make a new friend or ask a woman out, it's from a position of vulnerability, because unfortunately, relationships usually don't work out for me. But because that video was very negative, I've decided to create a more upbeat video looking at the importance of platonic friendship between men and women, as well as protecting yourself from just friends friendships, and how to make a just friends friendship work, but also the importance of keeping women who just want to be friends at a safe distance for your own well-being, and also their well-being, because just friends relationships can be difficult, and they take a lot more work than a regular platonic friendship, because you're not platonic. And so here's a quick reel of a couple of the amazing women I have in my life who are platonic friends, and we'll go through this reel, and then I will discuss the value of my platonic female friends.
Just look at all these beautiful people. I am really lucky in that I've been blessed across my life with a ton of women who support me and who are amazing and who give me a lot of advice, and I don't know what I'd do without them. And yeah, I mean, every last one of these beautiful people is amazing, and I owe them a lot. Not all of them, well, a lot of them weren't there when my dad had cancer, but that was because a lot of them were my stronger friends when I was younger, or my stronger friends after that situation, and some of them were actually there when my dad was fighting cancer. They hung out with me and they gave me advice, and they were really backbones and supports. And I do want to definitely thank all of them for being such beautiful and amazing and strong and powerful people, and I really value their friendship, and I value what their friendship meant to me, and I value what their friendship means to me, and every time I help them out in their career, or they help me out with advice on women, or they help me out in my career, or we hang out, it's just always extremely valuable to have these women around. And I thought this reel would be important to really help explain the importance of platonic friendship.
So that reel of photos showed a lot of my platonic friends, and some of them are fairly good friends. Some of them I see every once in a while. Usually I see most of them every month or two. I know some people consider that acquaintanceship. I consider that friendship, just because most of my closest friends I only see every month or two. So those are my closest friends. I don't really have that many friends that I see every day. But anyways, I digress. The reason I showed that reel at the beginning of this video is to sort of show the importance of these platonic friends in my life, as well as for my personal growth. So a lot of those female friends I made back at Vancouver Film School. Some of them I made prior to film school, and a lot of them I've also made in the film industry. And these friendships are entirely platonic, as in I've never asked the woman out. I've never asked any of those friends out. I've also never made romantic advances on any of those friends. We are completely platonic. And the fact of the matter is, I'm not saying they aren't attractive. I have a lot of female friends that are attractive, but I just am not romantically interested in them. And to my knowledge, they aren't romantically interested in me, which allows our friendships to blossom. And it also helps me understand a female perspective. So to go back to the really difficult time in my life when I had a best friend who, like, I did see 3 times a week. She was one of the closest friends I've ever had. Usually by that I mean, like, we hung out 3-4 times a week. She came over to my apartment. We had movie nights. We were really tight. And unfortunately, that was a just friends relationship, meaning I had made a romantic advance on her, and she just wanted to be friends. And then later on, she had made a romantic advance on me, or at least I perceived it as such. And so it was a complex relationship, but it was also my closest friendship during my time at VFS. And so when that relationship went sideways, when my dad got cancer and my grandparents died, and I was under a lot of pressure, and unfortunately that relationship didn't work out because just friends relationships require a lot more communication and a lot more work. And that's where platonic friends really came in handy. So my friend Jen Cobelt, who I had also made during my time at VFS, we weren't tight like myself and my friend who turned her back on me, as well as all our other mutual friends turned their backs on me. But my friend Jen Cobelt was like an ear. So I did talk to Jen quite often, usually every month or two. And I had a small group of female friends who really helped me with understanding the female perspective of a just friends friendship, and the importance of having those platonic female friends who you've never made a romantic advance on, and there's no sexual tension, in understanding how to patch or maintain a just friends relationship, or even how to get into a romantic relationship. Like, I really suck at romantic relationships, but having all these platonic friends, I can always turn to a female friend and be like, hey, I'm asking this woman out, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, what is your advice, what is your opinion? And they're always really happy to give me advice, and it tends to be, well, in my opinion, better than my male friends' advice, because they are women and they deal with situations that us men don't deal with, and so men aren't always the best at giving advice in those situations. So platonic friends have really helped me just have that female presence in my life, since I don't have a romantic relationship. And in another way, it really helps me with that female presence in my life, because I don't have a romantic relationship, is events. So every time I go to a red carpet event, or I go to a photo wall, or I'm at a networking event, or I'm at a film premiere, or I'm pretty much any time you would see a person bring their girlfriend or their partner, I always have a friend date. And friend dates are platonic female friends, or even a just friend. I've had several just friends come as my friend dates. But It is that female friend who comes with you, who is on your arm, who is out there showing support for you, and who takes a lot of amazing pictures with you, and you network together and you have each other's backs. And there's just something beautiful about that. There's something beautiful about, in this industry, people having your backs. So a lot of my platonic female friends, I help out their careers a lot. I'll throw them a bone. I'll introduce them to somebody. A lot of them are actors, and a lot of them are models, and a lot of them are aspiring directors and aspiring producers and aspiring camera operators. And so I'll bring them out to events, and I will also help kickstart their projects. I will help crowdsource, which of course is Kickstarter, and I help introduce them to people to help their dreams come true. And the thing about those platonic friendships is those women know I genuinely care about them, and I'm not just trying to have sex with them, or I'm not trying to have any ulterior motives. They are genuine friends. And they have my back at those events, and they also have my back in life in general, because as an autistic man, I face a lot of incel phobia or neurophobia with regards to incels. Autistic men are often labeled incels. I am a virgin. I'm a virgin by choice. But there's a lot of negative stereotypes attached to autistic men who are virgins. And this is another area where having platonic female friends really comes in handy, because my platonic female friends can be like, hey, this guy's actually not an incel. He has our backs. And when I have a just friendship relationship go sideways, and a woman's like, oh, he just wanted to sleep with me, or he had ulterior motives, and blah, 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 whatever bullshit happened in that just friends relationship, I have an army of platonic friends who are like, no, you know what, that's not true. Joel's not that kind of guy, and your just friends relationship went sideways, and that's your fault, or that's partially his fault, but it's not because he had ulterior motives. And so I found like having this group of super women, I would say, platonic friends at my six, has really helped me in the last few years. And the thing is, platonic friends are not like your guy friends, and they're not going to be there all the time. They have boyfriends, they have husbands, and there are obviously going to be, their partners are going to be a little skeptical of a platonic male friend for obvious reasons, especially ones who help them with their careers and take photos with them on red carpets. There's obviously going to be some skepticism there, and that's really where the beauty of platonic female friends comes in handy, because you're proving to your platonic friends that you're not a piece of shit, and you're proving to your platonic friends that you are genuinely their friend and that you genuinely have their back. And that helps you in life in general, because when you need a woman to have your six to be like, okay, I need to ask this woman her advice because I'm pursuing a romantic relationship with someone and it's not going well, what would you do? What do you suggest I do? You always have those platonic female friends jumping at the bit to help you out. And I think that's important. And I think when I went to Australia, for example, I went to Perth, which is in Western Australia, and I stayed with one of my friends, Jocelyn. Now, Jocelyn and I don't hang out all the time, but Jocelyn and I met on The Exorcist, and we have a budding friendship, and I can count on Jocelyn when I need help. And when I was in Australia, I could count on Jocelyn because she showed me around Perth in Western Australia. And because that was a fully platonic relationship, there was no issues there, and I was able to go see kangaroo farms, and I was able to hang out with her and her boyfriend, and it was just a genuinely positive experience, and it really made my trip to Australia amazing. And it's just stuff like that, where having strong platonic friendships, or even just platonic friendships, really helps. And platonic female friends can do things that platonic male friends can't. Or should I just say male friends? I'm straight, so I don't really have platonic or non-platonic male friends. But having platonic female friends, they're able to do things that those men can't do. And they're able to communicate with me and help me understand things that, because of my autism, I struggle with understanding. And honestly, I just have to say, I love my platonic female friends. And they are amazing supports. And I wouldn't trade my platonic female friendships for anything in the world. I think even if I had a romantic relationship, I'd have a difficult time pushing away my platonic female friends, because I sort of need my platonic female friends if I'm in a romantic relationship, because I'd need to be able to ask their advice constantly, because I miss social cues and I'm not that great with relationships. And women are really a lot better at understanding women, especially neurotypical women are better at understanding neurotypical women than an autistic man is. And so ever since I was a kid, I've always surrounded myself with platonic female friends, and that's not something I intend on changing anytime in the future. So now that I've talked a bit about platonic female friends and how important it is to have women in my life who I'm not romantically interested in, I'm not sexually pursuing, who are just there as friends and supports, and I'm in there as supportive of them, I want to talk a bit about just friends relationships. And so now I'm going to show you another reel, and these women are friends that I have asked out and I have pursued romantically, and some of them I'm not friends with anymore, and some of them I am friends with. And after the reel's done, I am going to discuss the just friends relationship and the importance of just friends relationships, and the importance of also protecting yourself as a man from just friends relationships, and ensuring that you aren't getting hurt, they aren't getting hurt, and ensuring that you respect them. But I think the biggest issue with just friends relationships is also making sure that they respect you. Because very often women who have just friends relationships with men, they don't respect the man. And I think it's important to discuss that and discuss how the pitfalls of those friendships and the positives of those friendships. Yeah, so play reel.
Quick disclaimer as I play this reel. Several of these just friends women are currently my just friends, and some of them aren't. For the ones that are and aren't, I have equal respect for them. All of them I saw amazing value in when I asked them out. I saw amazing value and friendship and just a lot of beauty in them as individuals during our friendships, or after our friendships. I still do. I have mad respect for them regardless of how a situation has or has not turned out. They are beautiful people and deserving of happiness and joy. Respect.
So that reel was a couple of my just friends women in my life, or not in my life, and I'm not going to say which ones are in my life, and I'm not going to say which ones aren't in my life, but I think it was a good segue into the segment to show images of them, and I'm doing so in a respectful manner, and I hope they aren't upset, but they were or are valuable to me, and I think it's important to use those pictures and use those relationships as examples for the topic I'm about to address, which is, what is a just friends relationship? So a just friends relationship occurs when one person is romantically interested in the other person, and the other person says they just want to be friends for whatever reason. Now, in today's culture, I've learned the hard way as an autistic person that dating isn't formally acknowledged anymore. I asked out a woman a couple years ago, and I've asked out several who have said this, but the woman was like, I haven't been formally asked out on a date since middle school. And I was like, what do you mean you haven't been formally asked out on a date since middle school? And she was like, well, I just hang out with friends. And I was like, well, then how did you get your boyfriend? I'm like, how did you get into a relationship? And she's like, oh, we were friends and then we just started fucking. And from my experience, there are a lot of just friends, and I didn't put any pictures of these because I'm not wanting to slut shame and I'm not wanting to be part of a negative culture. But there are a lot of female friends who said they just wanted to be my friend, and then they made a romantic move on me. They tried to have sex with me, they jumped on me, and I view that as sexual assault because there was no verbal communication there. But that's just one of the complications of a just friends relationship, in the fact that at least one person has romantic interest in the other, if they don't both have romantic interest in each other. And I have a saying that if you have to have a just friends talk, and you have to be like, we are just friends, that means you're not just friends. And it's one of those situations where just friends is bullshit. Because if you were just friends, you wouldn't be having that conversation. The reason you're having that conversation is either you're interested in the other person or they're interested in you, and for the time being, you want to be friends, or maybe you permanently want to be friends, but for whatever reason you're having that conversation, you're not just friends. The other person or you care about that other person more than just a platonic friend would. And so let's go to the next point, is, do just friends relationships work? And I think this is a big issue where you have the nice guys finish last crap, you have the friend zone bullshit, and there's a lot of negativity attached to just friends relationships failing. And there's a lot of negativity attached to just friends relationships. And I think a huge part of that is the fact that just friends relationships require a lot more work than a completely platonic relationship. And the reason a just friends relationship requires a lot more work than a platonic relationship is, at the very least, one of the two individuals cares deeply about the other person, or cares about the other person on a level that isn't just friendship. And this can be a very beautiful thing when it works out. So I will use a quick example. The first woman I ever fell in love with, back in middle school, we fell out really hard. But then 10 years later, she came back and we're really good friends today. She's married and we have an amazing relationship. I see her a couple times a year. And we're in touch constantly on Facebook and social media. And the fact is, she knows that I genuinely care about her. And it's not just like a regular platonic relationship, in the fact that she knows I genuinely care about her because I respect her, and I would never make a romantic move on her that would jeopardize her happiness. And that doesn't occur in a platonic friendship. That only occurs in a just friends relationship, and when that works out. And I would say, to the second point that I'm just making, is yes, just friends relationships do work out. And they can be some of your best lifelong friends. And it comes down to the fact that a just friends relationship is selfless, in the fact that you have a romantic interest in the other person and you are still treating them well. And a just friends relationship that works has the person treating you well. And so when I'm romantically interested in somebody and they just want to be friends, I expect to be treated well. I expect to be treated just like any other platonic friend, if not more so. I expect to be treated with respect, and I expect to treat that woman with respect. And that is something that doesn't occur in a platonic friendship, because in a platonic friendship there is no sexual tension, there is no romantic interest. So respecting the other person is just easy, it's just normal. But in a just friends relationship, respect can be somewhat difficult. And that a lot of women, I notice, when they have a man who just wants to be friends, they start getting an ego trip, and they start really fucking mistreating that man. I have a really good friend who is like, oh, this guy really loves me and he'll buy me an Xbox and he'll do this and he'll bend over backwards for me and I just want to be friends with him and I don't want to be more than friends and we're going to go clothing shopping and he's going to do this for me and he's going to do that for me. And I immediately lost a lot of respect for that woman, and I've lost a lot of respect for a couple of women who treat men like that, because at the end of the day, those men want to be their friends, and they're using them, and they're mistreating them, and they're disrespecting them, and they're using it to feed their own egos, and they're using it for selfish reasons, and they aren't friends. They are fake people, they're frauds. But then there's also the women who aren't fake, who aren't frauds, who are like, you know what, I'm going to treat this guy who likes me with respect, and we're going to be friends, and I'm going to genuinely have his back. And those women are amazing. And so I think it's a bag of worms, the just friends relationship thing. And then the other thing is, and I hate to say it, well, I do love to say it actually, sometimes just friends actually become more than just friends. Like several of the women I've asked out in the past who said they met their boyfriends just by being friends and then started fucking. Now, I haven't had positive experiences with women trying to fuck me when we were just friends, because they didn't verbally communicate they wanted to fuck me and they just jumped on me and I was like, fuck you, that's sexual assault. And the reason it was sexual assault in my case is because I can't verbally communicate. I can't non-verbally communicate. And so when a woman jumps on me, it is sexual assault. You have to actually verbally acknowledge that you're romantically interested in me. Don't you dare fucking jump on me. Because if you said you want to be just friends and then you jump on me, that's not cool. That's assault. That's rape culture. But if we're going to talk about how they can sometimes work out, and I really hope that one day I get to date my best friend. And I really hope that one day I become friends with a woman and then we start dating, because friendship is the foundation of all relationships. And every time I'm in a just friends relationship, I do remind the woman if she's single. I don't do it if they're not single, because that's not fucking cool. But if the woman I'm just friends with is single, I do remind her that I want more. And I think it's important to do that as a man and a woman as well, if you're just friends and the person's single. Because at the end of the day, you are friends, and hopefully you're good friends, and hopefully you are respectful to each other, and that could actually blossom into a loving and caring relationship. So there's multiple different ways that a just friends relationship can work. They can either work in 10, 20-year lifelong friendships. They can work as in they end up in a romantic relationship. Now, don't go into a just friends relationship expecting that to happen, but it can happen. And if your relationship is built on friendship and respect and love, that is a beautiful thing. And then there are the just friendships that fail, and they go down in flames because either the woman mistreats the man or the man mistreats the woman. Whoever is the person who knows the other person likes them and treats them like shit to feed their own ego or to advance themselves. Unfortunately, there are shitty people out there, and unfortunately a lot of just friendships don't work out because there are really shitty people. Or maybe they're not shitty, but there's a miscommunication. But either way, sometimes they fail. But they do succeed, and they can succeed. And why is it important to have just friendships, relationships, even if they fail? And why is it important not to look at those failed just friendships in a negative light? So I have, unfortunately, one of my best friends a couple of years ago. I had asked her out. She wanted to be just friends. Then she asked me out. And then we dated a couple months before I found out that she was joking, or there was a miscommunication of some sort, and we weren't actually dating. She had said she wanted to really date, but she didn't actually mean she wanted to really date. And then she ended up dating somebody else right as my grandparents died and right as my dad entered chemotherapy. And then she totally iced me out of her life and treated me like shit because now she had a boyfriend and she didn't need a friend anymore. I was a useful friend when she was single, but when she wasn't single, I could go fuck myself. Why is that an important relationship? Just friends relationships where the women either treated me poorly or they treated me really, really well while they were single and then treated me like shit when they weren't single. or they treated me poorly because they knew I liked them and there was a power dynamic at play and they knew that they had the power over me. Why is it important to look at those relationships in a positive light even though they failed? And the reason to look at those in a positive light is respect. Look, I am not going to be treated like shit by a woman that I care about or that I show respect to. If I show respect to you and I want to be your just friend and I'm going to put in effort into our friendship, I fucking demand to have effort put back in. I demand to be treated with respect. And if you're single and I'm just friends with you and you know I like you, I'm going to remind you that I like you. And that's not to harass you. That's not to disrespect you. That's the fact that, you know what? I do like you. And I would be disrespecting you to not say that. And I think it's important as well to people's self-esteem to remind them that there's people out there that like them. And even in the failed relationships, so a couple of my female friends who I was like, I just wanted to be friends with, they dated decent guys. And when they were dating decent guys, I was like, hey, you know what, this guy's decent. And they knew that their boyfriend was decent because I had their best interest at heart. And when they dated D-bag pieces of shit, and I said that they were D-bag pieces of shit, unfortunately they didn't really believe me because they thought I had ulterior motives. But the fact is, at the end of the day, those friendships were very valuable to me. And when those friendships fell apart, I learned a lot about myself and treating myself with respect. And if those friends ever come back, or if those friends ever come back in a romantic way, or if those friends even come back as colleagues or acquaintances, no matter which way they come back, or no matter which way that relationship ended, what it teaches me is about respect. And at the end of the day, I'm going to respect and I'm going to love myself, and I'm not going to let somebody who's a fake friend or a just friend or a friend of convenience or a friend who uses me to feed their ego, regardless of which way that relationship ended, regardless of how the friendship ended, I learned and I continue to learn that I'm a valuable person who deserves respect, who deserves love, who deserves compassion, who deserves genuine friendship. And so I'd like to end this video by thanking all women in my life and who aren't in my life for helping make me the man I am today. And the women who aren't in my life, you know what? You fucked up, but that's... Or I fucked up, but I don't acknowledge it. Or maybe there was something that went sideways. But you can always come back. I have no animosity towards you, and if you show me respect, I will show you respect. And to all the women who are still in my life, love you to bits. You're amazing, and I think it's very valuable to acknowledge that there are strong, powerful, amazing women in my life, and I'd like to thank all of you for being there. Bye!